AI can sound confident, caring, and smart, and still steer you wrong. Today, you will learn a simple, repeatable way to use AI safely, protecting your data, your decisions, and your mental space, whether you're using it for work, daily life, or health questions. I believe the biggest AI risk isn't that models are getting too intelligent. It's that they are persuasive. Persuasive enough for us to stop thinking, stop checking, and start outsourcing our judgment to AI. And I believe that the fundamental problem is that most of us are not just using or trying AI, we're living it today. Every day, for email, strategy, parenting questions, health symptoms, relationship advice, and decisions at work. So today I'm going to do two things. First, I'll bring up a case that shows what can go wrong when people lose the boundary between tool and truth. And then I will give you a practical safety playbook you can use starting today at work, in life, and especially around health. So let's start with the case. There's a recent report that describes people sending urgent messages after intense chatbot use. People in real distress, convinced something imaginary was real. The phrase that got attached to it is called AI psychosis. Now I get it, this could sound silly to so many people. I am not here to diagnose anyone, but I am here to say, if a system is always available, always affirming, and always sounding certain, some people will treat it like an authority. Or even in some cases that are well known, they would treat it as a therapist or even a spiritual guide. And that's where you can get into trouble fast. Now, as you are watching this, you might tell yourself, I have high AI literacy, I don't need this. But we all have people around us, colleagues, loved ones, family, people who might not have the same AI literacy level that you have. So please watch on and don't click away, because the advice I'm gonna give you today might get you to have these conversations with people around you, and it might get you to help someone that you identify having these issues when it comes to dealing with AI. Me personally, I've never looked into this area of AI. I cover AI in so many perspectives, but I never looked into the safety of AI. And with the slightest online search, you're gonna find some shocking stories, things that happened in the past, and things that I know big AI labs are trying to battle today to prevent from happening in the future. But because I did that research and I read those stories, I'll have to say, if you are someone or you know someone who is having bad thoughts, negative thoughts, even thinking about self-harm, you should contact a professional or an emergency service line, and don't simply go with your problems to an AI chatbot. The scary part isn't only the extreme cases I told you can research online, it's also the everyday risk, which is really subtle. It looks like this. So you ask AI a question, it gives you an answer. That sounds right, it's about right. You stop verifying, and over time, your standards quietly drop. Drop in the sense that they get shifted and moved into directions that are probably or sometimes not based on truth or facts. So in the same sense, when you're using AI to develop something, you think about guardrails and harnesses. In the same sense, we need guardrails, especially when it comes to human psychology and emotions. Now let's get practical. I found so many safety frameworks out there, but ironically I used AI to help me come with something simple that you can always remember, for you and for myself. And the framework is called SAFE, S-A-F-E. 4 letters you can always remember when you're busy. And here S stands for scope, A stands for assume it's wrong, and F stands for filter your data, and E stands for exit ramps. So allow me to walk you through each one. I'm going to give you examples for each one. Those will be workplace related. I don't want to go to the psychology that I know nothing about. Let's start with scope. So whenever you interact with AI, you have to decide what the AI is allowed to do. So before you prompt, ask, what is the role that this AI model is playing? And here I recommend 3 tiers of this. Tier 1 is low risk. Brainstorming, rewriting, summarizing your own notes. Tier 2 has medium risk, which is work that influences decisions, like drafting a client email, creating a policy outline, generating a project plan. Tier 3 is the high risk one. So health, legal, financials, HR decisions, compliance, or anything that could harm someone if wrong. So for example, if you work in a company that touches regulated data, HR records, customer data, healthcare information, financial information for companies. So for this example, tier 3 means that you do not let an unapproved chatbot, an untested chatbot, become a part of that workflow. Because fundamentally for these areas, if you want to employ artificial intelligence, which is good, can be helpful, you need to make sure that you have the guardrails, harnesses, and evaluations, and even a human expert layer before any of those areas are affected through decisions, communication, or any kind of action where the output of that workflow with AI goes unchecked. And here, as a side note, I'm assuming that by employing AI within these systems and these areas, you have taken care of cybersecurity and data security in particular. And the tip here, the scope should be written down. It should be something that is documented, not something you keep in your head, because I guarantee you will lose track and you will forget. In a minute also, I'm gonna give you a single best question to ask AI that sometimes I use to reduce its overconfidence and force it to show its uncertainty. And this is something I have across all AI tools I use in the system prompt or the instructions that you can set in settings. And this takes us to assume it's wrong. I get it, this sounds negative, but it's the professional way to handling AI when it comes to the workplace, work in general, and even beyond that in other areas. And by the way, OpenAI themselves have explained that language models can produce answers that look fluent and confident even when they're false, because the system is predicting text, not checking the truth. And I understand many of you who operate within the AI domain might disagree with that statement. But remember, all of the tools and the guardrails, the technical part, that you who disagree with this, assuming you are an expert who knows how to handle AI, leverage tools, these are things that are not known to the vast majority of people, even not available for the vast majority of people. So be nice in the comment section if you disagree. So in the workplace, treat AI outputs like you treat a very fast intern. And here I mean you'd look into its work as a really helpful draft, but this is not the final truth. You always do your own reviews, your own checks before you actually use it. And the practical habit here, never accept facts from the model without at least one independent check. So for work, that means you verify against primary sources. For contract and policy, the actual data set that the AI is using, and the email thread that the AI again is using to give you a piece of information or a recommendation. I do my best personally to do this every time I put anything out there where I was supported by AI to do so. So it's okay to use AI, but you have to cross-check everything, especially the critical areas of the things that you're communicating or making decision on based on AI. And here's a counterintuitive takeaway. AI can make you feel more productive even when you aren't. In one study of experienced developers working on their own real projects, using an AI coding assistant made them slower on average, even though they believe it made them faster. So for sure, there's a gap between feeling and reality. And this is why assuming it's wrong is a safety feature, not a pessimistic mindset. And by the way, many AI experts out there recommend the exact same thing. Now, for the question I promised you that you can include in your prompts, the one line that forces a safer, better output. It goes like this. When you engage with AI, you include this either in the settings or in the same prompt you're giving the AI model for a specific task. And there are so many ways to do this. I just selected a simple, effective one. So you ask it at the end of the prompt, list what you're uncertain about and tell me how that changed your answer. This single line does three things. First of all, it makes the model surface its assumptions and also reveal how those assumptions affected its response to you. And third, it makes you think like a decision maker again. So you maintain agency and you make sure mentally that you are the party actually influencing and directing that conversation with the AI. For the third part of the framework, filter your data. This is the one most people ignore until it becomes an incident. The rule should be simple. Don't paste sensitive data into tools that are not approved for it. And in the workplace, again, this is where we're giving the example. Sensitive data includes customer information, employee issues, financial details, trade secrets, health information, anything that could be covered by law or by a non-disclosure agreement. So for example, if you're drafting a vendor risk assessment, don't paste the vendor's confidential answers into a public chatbot. Instead, sanitize it. Use placeholders, or use an enterprise approved system with the right controls. Basically something that the company provided to you for this exact use case, and you have the approval, the legal approval to do so. One more example to make this crystal clear. Let's say you are in hiring or HR. You have to be extra careful. Researchers have shown that AI systems can introduce bias in employment-related context, bias across even other general topics. So if you use AI to draft a job description, interview questions, or even performance language, you need to review steps because your process has legal and ethical consequences. By the way, I have done many mistakes in this end. Less on the work end because I'm super careful there, but for my personal projects when it comes to AI. I have so many times while exchanging with an AI model, exposed API keys, exposed sensitive information that I had to do extra work to either change it or discard it just to keep that information safe. As a side note, aside from the risk that AI can influence your decisions and actions, anything you share with an AI model, especially a closed source model, things like Gemini, OpenAI, Claude, and so forth, there's a risk that this information can be retrieved, regardless if it's a password, personal information, an API key, or anything else. So keep that in mind every time you interact with these models. Now for the fourth and final part, exit ramps. This is about keeping yourself safe emotionally and cognitively. This is the most important part, and this is what I'm more and more talking to people around me about. So what are exit ramps simply? They are rules that stop you from losing your way when you're exchanging and interacting with AI. They're especially important in life and in health use. And here I will share with you 4 exit ramps that I recommend, and I for sure will be communicating those and recommending them to people around me. So exit ramp 1. Time box. If you have been in a conversation with a chatbot for more than 20 minutes and it made you more anxious, it didn't give you the answers that you want, you think it's not being fruitful, you have to stop and walk away. Regroup and refocus. Think about the real question, the fundamental question or fundamental problem you are trying to address or solve in that conversation. This for sure will help you clear your mind and have clarity, and sometimes you either make a decision to stop interacting with the AI model, switch to a different one, or open a new session with a better prompting technique to try to get towards what you want. Exit ramp 2 is no role play authority. And this is again back to the human mental and psychological welfare. So fundamentally, do not ask it to be your therapist, your doctor, your lawyer, or even in some cases I read about, your deceased relative. This style of prompting can make the system sound emotionally convincing in ways it cannot actually support responsibly. Meaning, even if the AI labs have guardrails to protect people using the technology, if you prompt it this way, these guardrails might not come into play. So if you ask it to act like a doctor or a psychologist, it will do so. And it might convince you to take certain actions that are not based on fact or research or expertise. Exit ramp 3, reality check with the human. So if it's a health decision, a relationship decision, a money decision, or a big work decision, run it by a qualified person, even a friend. AI can help you prepare questions. It can't replace accountability and decision making. So for example, if you have a bad day at work, you have issues with your manager or even a colleague, please do not go for an AI chatbot asking it what decisions you should make around this, because it might actually sway you towards quitting your job, for example. This is why you have to talk to a human. And I know it sounds silly and crazy while I'm saying it. For so many people out there, they might actually get deeply influenced by these AI systems and follow the recommendation of the chatbot. So if it's not for you, this is something to have openly as a conversation with your loved one, even with kids, because they will touch AI at some point to make people aware and understanding and literate when it comes to the safety of interacting with and using AI models. Exit ramp 4, Reclaim your thinking. If you are like me, you use AI daily, schedule an off AI time for deep human thinking where you only use your own agency, your own thoughts, your own mind to solve problems. And I always recommend to my friends and people around me, do the first thinking for yourself and then revert to AI. Because if AI always writes the first draft, you can lose your own voice. This is something I feel when I use AI. I actually feel it without any research that I read. So always have your thoughts first, try to analyze the problem yourself, try to solve it yourself, then move to AI for help, for ideation and so forth, things where AI is good. But now you have the structure in your brain that makes the artificial intelligence feedback as a complement, not the main. So let me put all of this together for you in a simple do it today or do it every day checklist. First, label your task. Is it a tier 1, tier 2 or tier 3 when it comes to risk? If it's a tier 3, don't delegate. Use AI only to organize questions and maybe brainstorm. Assume it's wrong. Verify the facts against primary sources. Also ask, what are you uncertain about and how that changed your answer? This is the part of the prompt that you have to give AI. 5. Filter data. Don't paste sensitive information. 6. Use these exit ramps we talked about. Time box. Avoid authority roleplay, talk to a human, and protect deep thinking time. And in a minute, that's how you use AI without letting it use you. So before I close, if you lead a team, turn SAFE into a one-pager policy and teach it in your next staff meeting. And if you are an individual contributor, put these 4 letters on a sticky note near your screen. Believe me, you're gonna need that, because it's easy to forget how influential AI systems can be. So this is something that's far off from the content I create when it comes to AI, but I read into it and honestly it got me to think, am I contributing negatively or positively to AI when it comes to safety? So I decided to do this video, to do my role, my part, at least to educate my community and the people who are already educated. Maybe this will help them and trigger them to go and educate people around them when it comes to AI safety. If you have any comments or other topics that you think I should cover on my channel when it comes to AI safety or non-direct AI technical areas, write me a comment in the comment section. And with this, thank you for watching and goodbye.
Subscribe to Daddy's channel. Give me the mic.